Welcome to the salt of the streets, coming at you every week with this food for thought. Hope you ready to eat. With everything going on in this nation, we need some information, and that's why salt need to be stationed in your rotation. With real talk and real topics, real people, real problems. Think we need some help to solve them, and leave it up to Colin and Donovan, cause that's what's that? Oh, let's get ready.
We're back to Salt of the Streets podcast. Social and political commentary. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? That's always and forever. That's right.
Salt of the streets.
Another fantastic episode. Everyday Normal Person's podcast.
Salt of the streets. Welcome to the salt of the streets, coming at you every week with this food for thought. Hope you ready to eat. With everything going on in this nation, we need some information, and that's why salt need to be stationed in your rotation. With real talk and real topics, real people, real problems. Think we need some help to solve them, and leave it up to Colin and Donovan, cause that's what's that? Oh, let's get ready.
We're back to Salt of the Streets podcast. Social and political commentary. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? That's always and forever. That's right.
Salt of the streets.
Another fantastic episode. Everyday Normal Person's podcast.
Salt of the streets. Welcome to the salt of the streets, coming at you every week with this food for thought. Hope you ready to eat. With everything going on in this nation, we need some information, and that's why salt need to be stationed in your rotation. With real talk and real topics, real people, real problems. Think we need some help to solve them, and leave it up to Colin and Donovan, cause that's what's that? Oh, let's get ready.
We're back to Salt of the Streets podcast. Social and political commentary. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? That's always and forever. That's right.
Salt of the streets.
Another fantastic episode. Everyday Normal Person's podcast.
Salt of the streets. Welcome to the salt of the streets, coming at you every week with this food for thought. Hope you ready to eat. With everything going on in this nation, we need some information, and that's why salt need to be stationed in your rotation. With real talk and real topics, real people, real problems. Think we need some help to solve them, and leave it up to Colin and Donovan, cause that's what's that? Oh, let's get ready.
We're back to Salt of the Streets podcast. Social and political commentary. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? That's always and forever. That's right.
Salt of the streets.
Another fantastic episode. Everyday Normal Person's podcast.
Salt of the streets. Welcome to the salt of the streets, coming at you every week with this food for thought. Hope you ready to eat. With everything going on in this nation, we need some information, and that's why salt need to be stationed in your rotation. With real talk and real topics, real people, real problems. Think we need some help to solve them, and leave it up to Colin and Donovan, cause that's what's that? Oh, let's get ready. salt of the streets, coming at you every week with this food for thought. Hope you ready to eat. With everything going on in this nation, we need some information, and that's why salt need to be stationed in your rotation. With real talking, real topics, real people, real problems. Think we need some help to solve them, and leave it up to Colin and Donovan, cause that's what's that? Oh, let's get ready.
And we're back to Salt of the Streets podcast. Social and political commentary. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? That's always and forever. That's right.
Salt of the streets.
Another fantastic episode. Everyday Normal Person's podcast.
Salt of the streets.
Upper left or the upper left? Just upper left.
Welcome to the salt of the streets, coming at you every week with this food for thought. Hope you ready to eat. With everything going on in this nation, we need some information, and that's why salt need to be stationed in your rotation. With real talking, real topics, real people, real problems. Think we need some help to solve them, and leave it up to Colin and Donovan, cause that's what's that? Oh, let's get ready.
And we're back to Salt of the Streets podcast. Social and political commentary. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? That's always and forever. That's right.
Salt of the streets.
Another fantastic episode. Everyday Normal Person's podcast.
Salt of the streets.
Upper left or the upper left? Just upper left.
Welcome to the salt of the streets, coming at you every week with this food for thought. Hope you ready to eat. With everything going on in this nation, we need some information, and that's why salt need to be stationed in your rotation. With real talking, real topics, real people, real problems. Think we need some help to solve them, and leave it up to Colin and Donovan, cause that's what's that? Oh, let's get ready.
And we're back to Salt of the Streets podcast. Social and political commentary. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? That's always and forever. That's right.
Salt of the streets.
Another fantastic episode. Everyday Normal Person's podcast.
Salt of the streets.
Upper left or the upper left? Just upper left.
Welcome to the salt of the streets, coming at you every week with this food for thought. Hope you ready to eat. With everything going on in this nation, we need some information, and that's why salt need to be stationed in your rotation. With real talking, real topics, real people, real problems. Think we need some help to solve them, and leave it up to Colin and Donovan, cause that's what's that? Oh, let's get ready.
And we're back to Salt of the Streets podcast. Social and political commentary. Life, liberty.
Ooh, we messed up the camera. Nice. Boom. Boom. Hey, everybody. Rough start to this one. Welcome back to another episode of Beer Time with Big Bird, the show where we ring in the new weekend on this fabulous Friday night with a brand new beer chacho, which we'll go over in a second, and then we'll sit back and we'll discuss one of the stories of the week that has just been on my mind. I haven't been able to get out of it. It's been bothering me all week long, so we're going to discuss it right here on the show as we should be doing on a Friday afternoon, cracking into an ice cold beer chacho and just welcoming in the weekend proper like. So we'll just jump right into it. because I want to get going on this beer, and then we'll do some kind of admin-y type stuff. I got some promo type stuff we're gonna boost before diving into the chaos that is my mind this weekend. So yeah, this week's beer is from this lovely brewery, not necessarily local, but it's called the Schutz Brewery. It's out of Bend, Oregon. And if you've never been to Bend, Oregon, if you're a beer lover, it's a good town to visit. It's a microbrew paradise. It's kind of like my own hometown here, where there's like 1,000 different microbrews everywhere. But it's a fantastic place. It's beautiful. Kind of like, it's on the west coast of Oregon. It's nice. It's still kind of Pacific Northwesty, but without getting into too, like, some parts of Oregon are like real deserty. Surprise, surprise. But yeah, it's a good place. So if you're ever in the area, check it out. There's tons of beer to drink. So we're going to go ahead and pour us a beer. This one here is it's called a Grower's Special IPA. And so what they did was they teamed up with like a local hop grower and used their specific hop. This one is from Goshi Farms. Can't really see that in the light there, but Goshi Farms. So shout out Goshi Farms. It's a nice it's a hazy IPA from the looks of it. We've had some mixed reviews with hazy IPAs as of late, but I got a good feeling about this one. Ooh, nice citrusy smell right off the top. I'm a big fan of that. That's nice. It's gonna go down crisp and cool to start off the Friday night. So cheers, everybody. Happy Friday. Let's do this thing. Okay, it's official. The weekend can start. We started drinking our first beer of the weekend. We're in it. We're doing it. It's awesome. So now let's talk turkey. Let's talk business. Today we're going to be talking about kind of the end of the world. Not really, but we're going to be talking about the current situation we as a world and as a nation might find ourselves in. Adventure fishing. What is up, dude? Or ma'am, I don't know who you are, but shout out, you're a fisher. That's a good deal. But yeah, we're going to be talking about kind of like who's in charge here. Who's in charge with everything going on in the world right now? I'm not sure we know who's in charge. Well, technically, we know who's in charge, but are they really? We're going to discuss that. Old man, that's right. Well, good shit right there, buddy. Cheers. Happy Friday, adventure fishing. That's a good deal. I wish I was going fishing right now. That sounds like a really good thing. I don't know if salmon season is still going on right now. It'd be a really good thing to do this weekend. But alas, tomorrow we have a fantastic event happening right here on the Salt the Streets channel. It's going to be episode 134, full blown in studio. My boy Donovan will be here, and we're going to be breaking it all down. We've got just a jam-packed show. Obviously, there's been absolutely nothing going on in the world of geopolitics or anything like that. So just smoke some salmon today. Good for you. Man, now I'm jealous. I want some smoked salmon. I didn't get any salmon this year. I'm bummed. I got a nice smoker outside. Didn't even get any smoked salmon going on. Lake Michigan Coho. Oh, buddy. All right. Yeah, I'm officially jealous. Shout out to you there, adventure fishing. Enjoy you some locks, if you will. Although, that's not smoked salmon, but, we're just fucking around. But anyways, coming up on tomorrow's show, Salt the Streets Podcast, episode 134. As per the usual arrangement, we have kind of our local stories. If you are new here, we are based somewhere nearish Seattle, so most of our local stories revolve around Seattle, which is just an ever living shit show of stories that we have, no shortage to talk about. So we'll be getting into some stuff that's going on there, and then in the part two and three, we're getting into some real big fraud talk. It's going to be really good stuff with like PPP loans and food aid stuff like that. It's a whole deal. Yeah, left coast is the wrong coast, bro, but I get it. No, actually, no. Right coast is the wrong coast, bro. I lived on the East Coast for a long time. I dealt with enough hurricanes my whole life. I don't need none of that no more. Plus, there's no public lands out there for hunting and fishing, so I like my public lands out here. It's the one thing we got going for us out on the West Coast. Lots of public land to go get lost in. It's a good deal. But yeah, we got lots of that going on, and then obviously, Ukraine, Russia, World War III, pipeline, the whole 9 yards. There's going to be so much going on this show, and of course we got a nice big grab bag we'll be getting into. Obviously, no spoilers in that one, although there's definitely going to be some talk about the federal government trying to blame video games for the violent men again. So that's going to happen. That's definitely going to happen in part 4. But we're not going to do any of that today. Today's going to be we're going to kind of be getting into the pre-staging phase of this a little bit, because I think this is going to dovetail real nice with the show tomorrow. But tomorrow, noon Pacific time. I think we're still in Pacific Daylight Time, but, you get it. If you're on the East Coast, it's 3 hours, 3 hours the other direction. So Pacific time. And so what we're going to be talking about today is it's basically the state of our leadership in the country, and we're just going to start off by saying that tensions are rising across the country and across the geopolitical world. Within the country, division is at an all-time high at all levels of our society. The culture war has spread from its birthing ground on the internet and social media to the halls of state governments, where mayors and governors have joined the ideological fight for themselves. The economy is crumbling, crime is skyrocketing, and illegal migration is surging. Internationally, the CCP threatens war in the Pacific. North Korea has nukes. Iran is well on their way to one, and the war between Russia and Ukraine is getting dangerously close to kicking off World War III. Meanwhile, President Joe Biden is shaking hands with thin air, getting lost on stage after speeches, and asking dead people to stand up to be recognized during public remarks, and making his White House work overtime to walk back all the unapproved policy statements he makes in public. At least we have the vice president. She's just claiming to be in an alliance with North Korea, one of the world's most oppressive dictatorial regimes, while speaking at a function in South Korea during a trip to the DMZ. With everything going on around the world and here at home, it is far beyond time we take a good hard look at our so-called political leadership and decide for ourselves if we can afford to maintain the status quo. The stakes are higher than ever before, so it's time to put this left-right, Democrat, Republican bullshit aside for a second and really assess the situation for what it is. We're on a knife's edge here, and we need to know who the captain of this ship is and whether or not he might quite literally be asleep at the wheel. So that's what we're going to be examining today, and I believe I was reading. Thank you very much, sir. You caught me. I got to adjust the microphone so I'm not staring off into space. So we're going to be taking a look at some videos today of our lovely Commander-in-Chief, President Joe Biden, and noticing some of the worrying signs that we've been picking up. And these videos, just for the sake of argument, these are all just from like the last 6 months, if not the last few weeks. So let's go ahead and dive into the first one, which just happened the other day. This was a really, really good one. And just notice his body language and his face, if you will.
Okay, thank you.
With the Mr. Burn hands, and he exits the stage right. Obviously not the direction he was supposed to be going. He does get applause, and he starts shaking some hands, and but you could tell by the way the camera moved that they weren't ready for that action. So he obviously was not planning to do that. That was not the plan. So that's a good sign. Obviously, he's in command of all his faculties. Here's another one from, this one is actually, I think, just a week or so ago too, when he was doing the global fund. I think this was about like food aid and stuff like that on a global scale. Notice how, once again, he gets lost on stage. The Mr. Burn hands. I don't know where I'm going. Look to the crowd. What do I do? Do I get down? Nope. Okay.
Mr. President, thank you.
Over here. Oh, somebody's still talking. Oh, shit.
At the end of such a
I'm
momentous
42.
event,
Has Biden
the
in
word
DC
thank you
longer than
seems
I've been alive.
kind of
Amen, dude.
inadequate.
He's
But
been there
for
forever.
all the millions.
Anyways, he keeps talking. And obviously, he's just very confused. It's not a good deal. It is not a good deal. This is the Commander-in-Chief of these United States. This one's fantastic. Oh, this one I think was like the second or third shaking hands with the air. This was when he did a trip over to Israel And yeah, you'll like this one. Just watch for yourself. Shakes hands,
תודה
shakes hands.
לנשיא
Oh, there it
המדינה
is. Shaking hands with
ולנשיא
nobody
ארצות
again.
הברית. Thank you, President.
And where do I sit? Do I sit over here? This is not good, man. It's not good. The important thing to remember here is, like, we laugh at all this stuff, obviously, because it's kind of hilarious when you think about it. But if there's real life shit going on, you don't want that man in charge. You really don't. It's not good. This is a great one that you could just tell his frame of mind when he's on camera obviously is somewhere else, and you'll see why.
Power. It is noteworthy that the percentage of women who register to vote and cast a ballot is consistently higher than the percentage of the men who do so. End of quote. Repeat the line.
Repeat the line.
Women
He's reading the prompter instructions, man. Like you said, Adventure Fishing, he's been in D.C. longer than you've been alive. Why is he reading the prompter instructions? The dude has done this his entire life. Why? Probably because he's senile. That's why. And that's not, it's no shade necessarily against him personally. He's just 1,000 years old and obviously is not up to the task of the stress of the job. It's not good, man. It's one thing if we're in just, Joe Schmo, regular ass, just regular politicking, and Republicans and Democrats are fighting this and that and spending, and which is all bad. I'm not defending that at all. None of it's good. But if there's real shit at stake, if we're going to be talking about possibly getting into a hot conflict somewhere, that's not good, man. This is not what you want to be doing. So let's go ahead, and I got one more for you. This is another shaking hands with the air deal. So let's pull this up.
God bless you all.
Look at that. He turns, shakes there's nobody there. You didn't realize nobody was there, and now you don't know where to go. Oh, that's healthy. That is healthy. How do I go live on YouTube? It's real quick. It's a really easy process, actually. You gotta create start a creator page, which is pretty simple. I don't even remember how to do it. I remember it was very, very simple. As long as you have an actual account, you log in. You're Adventure Fishing, so you can do that. You have to link an account to email, and then there's a little bit of back and forth on emails, and then you're good to go. So it was pretty easy. And as long as you got a camera, and ideally you get a little bit of an operating system going on, some kind of software like OBS. We run OBS here at the Salt of the Streets. Makes doing live video really, really easy. Or you could just, hell, you can just do it from your phone. But yeah, the initial step is you got to get that verification done with the YouTube. So now this is the most recent one I wanted to show you, because this is kind of what re-brought up this conversation. And the reason why I think it's so important is because this is the first time we've actually had any real life pushback against something like this from the media, which we'll get into afterwards. And then we're going to start discussing some of the problems with not just his mental state, which essentially we're examining here right off the bat. We're examining his mental state. And then we're going to get into some of the statements he makes, whether it's off the cuff or not, when he makes these public statements that essentially, as the president, set a policy from the White House, and then immediately the White House retracts or has to add some kind of statement to say, well, that's not really what, that's not what the policy is. That's no, it's not really what he meant to say. This is the policy, which begs the question: if the president is saying stuff and he's the president and the ultimate authority, that means he's really not in charge. So who the fuck's really in charge? But we're going to go ahead and we'll lead off with this video, which was just disturbing on so many levels.
And so many of you know so much about this as well, and you're committed. And I want to thank all of you here for including bipartisan elected officials like Representative Governor, Senator Braun, Senator Booker, Representative Jackie. Are you here? Where's Jackie?
Jackie's not here.
I didn't think she was going to be here.
Yeah, she was going to be there, except she's dead, buddy. And you know she's dead because you wrote her a recognition letter after her death, and you have the family come into the White House the following day, which is not a good look for the old man. And I think this is the one that really set the media off, because the following day we actually got into during the White House press, what do you call it, the press briefing the next day, there was actually some question asks of Karine Jean-Pierre, the White House press secretary, where she was actually asked to justify this statement. So let's hear what she had to say.
Next couple of days.
One quick final one. What happened in the hunger event today? The president appeared to look around the room for an audience member, a member of Congress who passed away last month. He seemed to indicate she might be in the room. What happened?
So the president was, as you all know, you guys were watching today's event, a very important event on food insecurity. The president was naming the congressional champions on this issue and was acknowledging her incredible work. He had already planned to welcome the Congresswoman's family to the White House on Friday. There will be a bill signing in her honor.
He was already planning on having her family to the White House, and obviously can't remember that she's dead.
This coming Friday. So, of course, she was on his mind. She was of top of mind.
She was of top of mind. That's the new saying that everybody's been coming up with. So they just instantly cover for him. Instead of just, yeah. I mean, there's a million excuses you could have made for this. You could have said anything damn near. You could have said, he misspoke. He was in the moment, and it just kind of slipped out. Well, I mean, anything. But no, she was of top of mind. She was of top of mind, because that's the thing everybody says. It's unbelievable. But this just illustrates that obviously the president of the United States is not in control here, because every time he goes out there and says something in public, they need to do damage control for the old man. Here is another crystal clear example of that in action.
Mr. President, first Detroit Auto Show in 3 years.
Yeah.
Is the pandemic over?
The pandemic is over. We still have a problem with COVID. We're still doing a lot of work on it.
The pandemic is over, he says.
If you notice, no one's...
You guys might have noticed the news that happened. As soon as this was made, this was massive news all over the place. Everybody says, well, the pandemic's over. Something we already knew, obviously, but the White House has finally recognized it. But the problem occurred that they can't go with that because they've got too much executive action relying on the pandemic still being an emergency to get all this executive power that they don't constitutionally deserve, or or all the funding that goes with it. And that's a problem. So immediately after that, we've got KJP again, Karine Jean-Pierre, KJP, back on the morning shows the following day to cover his ass. And here's what she had to say about that.
Also in the 60 Minutes interview said that the pandemic is over. There's been quite a bit of pushback to that statement by the president. Where is he today on that?
So just to step back for a second, what we saw during that interview, 60-minute interview, when he made those comments, he was walking through the Detroit car show, the halls of the Detroit car show, and he was looking around. We have to remember the last time that they had held that event was 3 years ago. Even as we're talking about UNGA, the president's going to speak shortly, as I just mentioned, that hasn't been held in person for about 3 years as well.
The UN General Assembly. I used to take part in that as when I was in the Coast Guard at the time. It's basically where everybody in the UN shows up in New York and they hold the UN ceremonies for 10, 12 days, however long it is. But all these nose up motherfuckers that work in DC, they call it UNGA nowadays. Used to be UNGA. Used to be you can just get away with the alphabet, but no, now it's UNGA.
So we are in a different time. He's been very consistent about that. And the reason why is because we are now prepared. We are now ready. We know.
AKA just cover it up and say that's not really the policy. That's not at all what we're doing here. And when we're talking about domestic policy, that's one question, right? It's bad. It is very, very bad to have the quote-unquote leader of the free world, the head of the United States political machine that can go out in public and say something, and then the machine of Washington says, well, actually, no, that's not really a thing, which I think speaks to, the president essentially being some form of a political puppet at that point. What good is he if he himself, the office holder himself, can't be trusted for what he actually says in a public setting. That gets very, very dangerous, however, when you're talking about geopolitical policy, international policy, foreign policy, the relationships that could avert war. And a perfect example of that when he was over in Japan, and he made these statements about Taiwan.
We remain committed to supporting the peace and stability across the Taiwan Straits and ensuring that there is no unilateral change of the status quo.
Are you willing to get involved militarily to defend Taiwan if it comes to that?
Yes,
You are?
Yes.
that's the commitment we made.
That's not the commitment we made. First of all, they're a big shooter. So right there in two different sentences within the same speech, one, obviously you could tell he's looking down, he's reading a piece of paper. It's almost as bad as me looking up at the screen when I'm trying to read my little monologue earlier. You could tell there's prepared remarks, and it's, we're not good. We're committed to maintaining the status quo, which, as far as government foreign policy goes, our relationship with Taiwan is relatively ambiguous. It just kind of goes, as far as China's concerned, there's, we believe in one China. That's what it is. But then we're also going to, make sure Taiwan has its more or less autonomous independence without being an independent nation. But, we could do business with Taiwan. We'll still call them Taiwan behind the Chinese back. But, as far as that's concerned, it's worked out for a very long time. I will say that much. I'm not a big believer in giant national relationships. And that's not a bad one to have. It's very kind of, it leaves a lot of wiggle room for you. It leaves a lot of room for you to duck and dive. What doesn't is when the commander-in-chief himself says, yes, we are as committed to Taiwan's freedom that we would put American boots on the ground and fight for Taiwan. That's bad. While immediately after that, of course, Jake Sullivan, this is an article from Fox News, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan walked back President Biden's statements that the U.S. would deploy troops to defend Taiwan from China on Tuesday, saying Biden was answering a hypothetical and that there was no change in policy. So right there, already, we've got the unelected White House establishment machine overruling the President of the United States on what exactly he says. That's not good. When we are looking at the situation in Europe right now, which we will be discussing at great length tomorrow on the podcast right here, noon Pacific time, this is going to come into play. What the president says in a public setting matters, because what's not going to, what the Russian government is not going to do is read the follow-up on a news website after the White House puts out a press update to walk back the president's remarks. If he says something stupid in a public setting, on TV, on the internet, they can use that to justify whatever it is that they want to use for what he said. That's not a good, that's a really bad place to be. I don't care if you are as anti-Trump and if you have the most severe case of Trump derangement syndrome that has ever existed. This is arguably more dangerous. Trump said a lot of crazy shit. The wild rocket man and stuff with North Korea and all that, and that ended up in basically Trump walking across the line in DMZ, which was a very strange endeavor. It was the first time that president's ever done that, which was a pretty historic event. But that didn't start a world war. That was very strange. But what we're looking at here, a simple slip of the dementia tongue could land us in some severely nuclear hot water. And that's not good. And unfortunately, the backup plan, if we were to say, go ahead, we got a 25th Amendment, this guy, the backup plan, Kamala Harris, is really, I want to say no better, but you judge for yourself.
So the United States shares a very important relationship, which is an alliance with the Republic of North Korea.
North Korea.
It is an alliance that is strong and enduring.
A strong and enduring alliance with North Korea. as she is in South Korea on the DMZ. That's a bad look, Kamala. A real bad look. I don't think the people of South Korea greatly appreciate that. It's really bad. But at the same time, she's almost slightly less harmful than Biden because most of the time she sounds like this.
But it's exciting. Have you seen the photographs from the Webb telescope?
All the Army guys are like, what?
So
what?
we invested in this telescope,
The Webb telescope.
and the images just came back, and they show us 3 billion years back.
Whoa.
To the
3
beginning,
billion
to
years
all these
back.
galaxies. It's the most humbling thing you have ever seen. You gotta have somebody show you for it. It's absolutely
Yeah, his face just kills me like, okay. All right, lady, what are you talking about? You are crazy. You know where you're at, right? You know where you're at? Remember when you just did that photo op with the binoculars and you're looking all the way out there and going, wow, this is crazy. It's so close. Yeah, no, it's 50 meters away. It's right here. That's North Korea right there. 50. You don't need those. It's right there. That's, if you haven't seen that video, find that video. Or you get examples like this.
We know that we really are quite behind in terms of maximizing our collective understanding about how we will engage on the technology of today and what we can quickly and easily predict will be the technology over the next decades. So to maintain our position as the United States of America on this issue, it is critical that we work together
What's the position?
to understand where we are, to recognize and have the courage to speak truth about what is obsolete,
Okay.
and then to partner to ensure that we are speaking the same language with the same motivation, inspired by the opportunity of it all, but then doing the work of updating
Doing the work, man.
how we have been talking
Gotta
and
be doing the
thinking
work.
about our exploration in space.
Okay, I don't know what she said, but I feel real inspired right now. That was a joke, because she didn't say anything. She just said a bunch of corporate mumbo jumbo. That doesn't mean anything. This belongs in office space. Like, literally, I've heard this joke a lot. Like, she just came out of Veep, the show Veep. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that, but like, she's a sitcom character in a political show. That doesn't seem like a real person. And moral of the story here is none of this is good if there's real shit going on. If all of a sudden we might be going to war or trying to divert a war, this is not who you want in charge, man. These people are dangerous through how senile or stupid they are. None of this is okay. I don't care, left, right, center, don't really matter. This is dangerous. Obviously, you could see that. Anybody with 2 eyes. I don't want to make fun of nobody. It's kind of funny, obviously. These people are lunatics who just crave power. Now is not the time for lunatics who crave power. Now is the time for the adults to actually be in fucking charge here and not these psychopaths. This is insane. I'm not saying Trump's the dude. I'm also not saying Trump's the dude. All I'm saying is this ain't going to work for very much longer. And we need to be very, very careful how we go forward. And we need to make sure we have all options on the table here. I don't know what those options are. But man, if we get into any kind of serious shit, these people are not going to be making good decisions for us. Whew. So, with that high note, everybody, once again, happy Friday. Thank you so much, Adventure Fisher, for showing up and hanging out with us on this Friday evening here on the West Coast, which is the best coast. I lived in New York City for a long time, so that place is also pretty cool too. But you know, I like the woods way better than the big city. A lot less riots out here too, which is helpful. So anyways, cheers everybody. Happy Friday. Thank you very much for joining us again. Make sure you're right here tomorrow, noon Pacific, for episode 134 of the Salt the Streets podcast. We're going to be talking about this and so much more. It's fun. It's a live show. You'll be in the chat. We'll be talking with you. It'll be a great time. Hope to see everybody there.